What if one small spoon before bed could change the way your body moves through the night without you feeling it, without making a sound, without waking you up, and without you realizing that something important was happening while you slept? Tonight, before you close your eyes, you might look at olive oil very differently. Because for years, people have talked about olive oil in salads, Mediterranean meals, heart health, and cooking, but almost nobody talks about what may happen when this golden liquid becomes part of your nighttime routine. Not as a miracle, not as magic, not as a cure, but as a quiet habit that may support the body at the very moment when the body is repairing, resting, digesting, balancing, and preparing you for tomorrow. Most people think the night is empty time. You sleep, the room gets dark, the world becomes quiet, and nothing important happens. But inside your body, the night is not empty at all. It is one of the busiest periods of your entire day. Your liver is working. Your digestion is slowing down but still active. Your blood vessels are responding to what you ate earlier. Your hormones are shifting. Your cells are cleaning, repairing, and adjusting. Your brain is organizing memories. Your muscles are recovering. Your immune system is doing its silent work. And the food choices you made before that night can influence how smooth or stressful that internal process becomes. That is why the question is not simply, is olive oil healthy? Many people already know that high-quality extra virgin olive oil can be part of a healthy diet. The deeper question is this: what happens when olive oil is taken at night, especially before bed, and why do some people feel different when they add this simple habit carefully and consistently? Before we go further, let us be very clear. Olive oil before bed is not a medicine. It does not replace your doctor, your treatment, your healthy meals, your sleep routine, or your physical activity. And it is not for everyone. If you have reflux, gallbladder problems, digestive issues, or if fatty foods at night make you uncomfortable, you need to be careful. But for many people, especially those who eat too many processed foods, too much sugar, or too many heavy late-night snacks, replacing those habits with a small amount of extra virgin olive oil in the right way may be a much smarter evening choice. The nighttime effect nobody talks about begins with something very simple. Olive oil may help your body end the day in a calmer, nutritional state. Many people go to bed after eating foods that push the body into stress. A sweet dessert, white bread, fried snacks, processed meats, biscuits, or a heavy meal late at night may taste comforting for a few minutes, but inside the body, they can create a different story. Blood sugar may rise. Digestion may become heavy. The stomach may feel full. Sleep may become less comfortable. The next morning, the person wakes up tired, thirsty, bloated, or hungry again. Olive oil works differently. It is a fat, yes, but it is mostly a source of unsaturated fat, especially monounsaturated fat. This matters because not all fats behave the same way in the body. Some fats, especially when they come from heavily processed foods, fried foods, and large amounts of saturated fat, can be harder on the body when eaten often. Olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil, brings a different nutritional profile. It contains oleic acid, natural antioxidants, and polyphenols that are one reason the Mediterranean style of eating has been studied so much. But the bedtime habit is not about drinking a large glass of oil. That is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they hear about olive oil benefits. More is not always better. In fact, more can be a problem. Olive oil is calorie-dense. Taking too much before sleep can disturb digestion, cause nausea, increase reflux, or add unnecessary calories. The real idea is small, simple, and controlled. For many people, that means 1 teaspoon, or sometimes 1 small spoon, not a full shot, not a huge amount, and not something forced into the body. Now imagine the body at night like a quiet workshop. During the day, your body is dealing with movement, stress, meals, noise, screens, conversations, and decisions. At night, the lights go down, and repair crews begin to work. The question is, did you leave the workshop clean and organized, or did you leave it full of smoke, sugar, and heaviness? A small amount of olive oil, used wisely, may be like leaving behind a cleaner, more stable fuel instead of a chaotic one. One of the first things people notice when they take olive oil correctly at night is a different feeling in digestion. This does not happen for everyone, and it should not be exaggerated. But some people say they wake up with less heaviness, less desire for sugary breakfast foods, and a smoother feeling in the stomach. Why might that happen? Because fat slows digestion. When used in a small amount, it can make the body feel satisfied for longer. If the alternative is cookies, chocolate, chips, or a heavy late meal, a small spoon of olive oil with a light evening routine may help reduce the urge to snack again and again. This is especially important for people who feel hungry at night. Many people do not truly need more food before bed. They are not hungry because the body lacks nutrition. They are hungry because the day was unbalanced. Maybe breakfast was poor. Maybe lunch was rushed. Maybe dinner was too high in refined carbohydrates. Maybe stress created cravings. Then night arrives, and the brain asks for quick comfort. That is when people eat the foods they promised themselves they would avoid. A small olive oil habit can become a psychological pause. It can tell the brain, the kitchen is closed. The day is finished. I have given my body something simple, and now it is time to rest. In this way, the effect is not only chemical, it is behavioral. It replaces chaos with ritual. And for health, rituals matter. The body loves rhythm. The brain loves signals. When you repeat a calm evening signal, your body begins to understand that sleep is coming. But the real secret is not just taking olive oil. The secret is what olive oil replaces. If you take olive oil before bed but still eat fried food, sweets, and processed snacks every night, do not expect a miracle. The benefit comes when olive oil becomes part of a better pattern. For example, instead of eating bread with butter late at night, you might use a small drizzle of extra virgin olive oil earlier with vegetables. Instead of a sugary dessert, you might finish dinner with a lighter meal and leave the body in peace. Instead of drinking olive oil after a heavy meal and lying down immediately, you might take a small amount earlier in the evening and give your stomach time. This is where many videos online get it wrong. They talk as if olive oil is a magic button. Drink it, and everything changes. But the body does not work that way. The body responds to patterns. It responds to what you do most of the time. Olive oil can be powerful as part of a pattern, but it cannot erase poor choices made all day. Now let us talk about the liver, because this is one of the reasons people become curious about olive oil at night. Your liver is active while you sleep. It helps process nutrients, manage stored energy, and support detoxification systems that are already built into the body. But you do not need to detox your liver with extreme drinks. Your liver is not waiting for a miracle cleanse. What it needs most is less overload and better support. Less alcohol. Less excess sugar. Less processed food. Better fats. More whole foods. Better sleep. More movement. In that context, olive oil may be supportive because it fits into a more balanced way of eating. The nighttime angle matters because many people damage their liver-friendly routine not in the morning, but at night. They do well all day, then after dinner they start snacking. Sweet tea, biscuits, desserts, fried leftovers, salty snacks, and late heavy meals. The liver receives this message right before sleep. More work, more sugar, more fat, more processing. Then the person wonders why the morning feels heavy. Replacing that pattern with a lighter evening and a small amount of high-quality olive oil may reduce the burden, not because olive oil is magic, but because the whole night becomes less chaotic. Another effect people rarely discuss is the relationship between olive oil and inflammation. Inflammation is a word used everywhere now, sometimes too casually. But at a basic level, the body can be pushed toward irritation by poor diet, lack of sleep, stress, and inactivity. Extra virgin olive oil contains natural compounds that are studied for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. This does not mean one spoon will remove all inflammation from the body, but it does mean that choosing olive oil instead of less healthy fats can be one small vote in favor of a calmer internal environment. Think of your health like a daily election. Every meal is a vote. Every snack is a vote. Every night of sleep is a vote. One vote does not decide everything, but thousands of small votes build the result. A spoon of olive oil before bed is not the whole election. But for some people, it can be one of those small votes that helps move the body in a better direction. There is also the heart and blood vessels. Olive oil is famous in heart-healthy eating patterns, not because it performs miracles overnight, but because replacing less healthy fats with unsaturated fats can support healthier cholesterol patterns over time. Again, the key word is replacing. If olive oil is simply added on top of an already excessive diet, the result may not be helpful. But if it replaces butter, margarine, creamy sauces, fried snacks, or processed fats, that is where the story becomes more interesting. At night, your blood vessels are not sleeping in the way you imagine. They are still responding. Blood pressure changes during sleep. The nervous system shifts. The body enters a different rhythm. A heavy, salty, fatty, processed late meal can make that rhythm less peaceful. A lighter evening routine with better fats may support a more comfortable night. Olive oil does not force the heart to become healthy overnight, but it can be part of a lifestyle that gives your cardiovascular system fewer problems to fight. Now let us address something many people ask. Can olive oil before bed help with constipation? Some people do report that a small amount of olive oil helps their morning bowel movement feel easier. This may be because fat can stimulate digestive movement in some individuals and because olive oil can act as a lubricant in the diet. But this is not a cure for chronic constipation. If someone is constipated all the time, the real questions are bigger. Are they drinking enough water? Are they eating enough fiber? Are they moving during the day? Are they taking medications that slow the bowel? Do they have a medical condition? Olive oil may help some people gently, but it should not hide a serious problem. The safest way to think about olive oil and digestion is this: small amount, good quality, observe your body. If you feel better, lighter, and more regular, that is useful feedback. If you feel nausea, burning, reflux, stomach pain, or diarrhea, your body is also giving feedback. Do not ignore it. Healthy habits should make your life better, not create discomfort. And this brings us to one of the most important warnings in this video. Olive oil before bed is not ideal for everyone. If you suffer from acid reflux, heartburn, or GERD, taking fat close to lying down may make symptoms worse. Fatty foods can relax the lower esophageal sphincter in some people and slow stomach emptying, which may increase the chance of acid moving upward. That means if you already wake up with burning in the chest, sour taste, coughing, or throat irritation, do not copy this habit blindly. You may need to take olive oil earlier with dinner or avoid taking it close to bedtime altogether. This is why timing matters. The phrase, before bed, does not have to mean 5 minutes before your head touches the pillow. For some people, the better approach is 1 to 2 hours before sleep, or simply using olive oil with the evening meal. The body is not a machine where the exact minute creates the benefit. What matters is the routine, the replacement, and how your own digestion responds. Let us talk about sleep. Some people claim olive oil directly makes you sleep deeply. That is too strong. Olive oil is not a sleeping pill. It does not sedate you. But it may support sleep indirectly if it helps you avoid blood sugar swings, late cravings, and heavy processed snacks. Many people sleep badly not because they lack a special nighttime superfood, but because their evening routine is working against them. Too much food too late, too much sugar, too much caffeine, too much screen light, too much stress. Olive oil cannot solve all of that. But as part of a calm nighttime ritual, It may help some people feel more satisfied and less tempted to eat foods that disturb sleep. The ritual could look like this. Dinner is finished earlier. The meal is simple. Vegetables, protein, maybe legumes or whole grains, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Later, instead of snacking, you take a small teaspoon of olive oil if it suits your body, perhaps followed by a sip of warm water or herbal tea without sugar. Then you stop eating. You dim the lights. You leave the phone aside. You let the body understand that the day is ending. In this full routine, olive oil is not alone. It is part of a signal. And signals are powerful. Your body learns from repeated signals. When the same calm actions happen every night, the nervous system begins to associate them with safety. Safety is important for sleep. A stressed body does not sleep deeply. A body overloaded with food does not rest peacefully. A mind scrolling through problems does not shut down easily. So the nighttime effect nobody talks about may not be one dramatic chemical reaction. It may be the way a small health habit helps organize the end of the day. Now, let us discuss the type of olive oil. If you are going to use olive oil as a health habit, quality matters. Extra virgin olive oil is usually the best choice because it is less processed and contains more of the natural compounds that make olive oil interesting in the first place. Look for oil stored in a dark glass bottle or tin, away from heat and light. Check the harvest date if available. Choose oil that smells fresh, grassy, fruity, or peppery. A slight peppery sensation in the throat can be a sign of natural polyphenols. Avoid oils that smell rancid, waxy, stale, or like old nuts. But do not become obsessed. You do not need the most expensive bottle in the world. You need a real, fresh, good quality extra virgin olive oil. And you need to use it consistently in reasonable amounts. A small amount daily in the right diet is more realistic than a large amount for 3 days followed by giving up. Another question is whether to take it alone or with food. Some people drink it directly. Others cannot stand the taste. If drinking it straight makes you uncomfortable, do not force it. You can take it with a small piece of whole grain bread, drizzle it on cooked vegetables, add it to a small salad at dinner, or mix it into a simple evening meal. The body does not require drama to receive nutrients. Sometimes the simplest method is the best. And please remember this, olive oil still has calories. 1 tablespoon contains a meaningful amount of energy. If someone adds several tablespoons every day without reducing anything else, weight gain can happen. This is not because olive oil is bad. It is because energy balance still matters. Healthy calories are still calories. The goal is not to pour oil everywhere. The goal is to replace worse choices with better ones. This is especially important for people trying to lose belly fat. Some videos say olive oil before bed melts fat while you sleep. That is misleading. Olive oil does not melt belly fat. Fat loss comes from consistent calorie balance, better food choices, movement, muscle preservation, sleep, and time. However, olive oil may help indirectly if it makes meals more satisfying and helps you avoid late-night sugar. If 1 teaspoon of olive oil prevents a night of biscuits, sweets, and fried snacks, then yes, it may help your weight journey. But not by melting fat. It helps by improving the pattern. Let us speak to people over 50 or 60 because this audience often cares deeply about nighttime habits. As we age, digestion can become more sensitive. Muscle mass becomes harder to maintain. Sleep may become lighter. Blood sugar may become more difficult to control. The body may react more strongly to late, heavy meals. That means the evening routine becomes even more important. A small, careful olive oil habit may be useful for some older adults, but it should be gentle. Start small. Observe digestion. Keep dinner balanced. Do not take it with a pile of bread. Do not take it after a greasy meal. And if you are on medication or have a medical condition, ask a health professional before making it a daily habit. For older adults, the bigger picture is not olive oil alone. It is protein, fiber, hydration, movement, sunlight, sleep, and social connection. Olive oil can support meals, but it cannot replace protein needed for muscles. It cannot replace vegetables needed for fiber and minerals. It cannot replace walking. It cannot replace medical care. The healthiest people do not depend on one trick. They build a life of simple habits that repeat. Now imagine 2 different nights. In the first night, dinner is late and heavy. The plate is full of fried food, white bread, processed sauces, and sweet dessert. After dinner, there is television, stress, and more snacks. The person goes to bed with a full stomach. During the night, digestion is uncomfortable. Sleep is broken. Morning arrives with heaviness and cravings. In the second night, dinner is earlier and lighter. The plate has vegetables, a good source of protein, and a small drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Later, if needed, there is a tiny spoon of olive oil as part of a calm ritual, not as a binge, not as a miracle. No sugar, no heavy snack, no late overeating. The person goes to bed feeling satisfied but not stuffed. The night becomes easier for the body. Which night gives your body a better chance? That is the real question. The power of olive oil before bed is not that it forces the body to heal. The power is that it can help close the day differently. It can help you move from random eating to intentional eating, from cravings to calm, from processed fats to better fats, from late-night chaos to a simple ritual. But let us also be honest about side effects. Some people should not take olive oil at night. If it causes reflux, stop. If it causes nausea, stop. If it causes diarrhea, reduce the amount or stop. If you have gallbladder disease or have had gallbladder attacks after fatty foods, speak with a doctor. If you are taking medications and your diet changes significantly, ask for guidance. If you have diabetes and you are changing your evening eating pattern, monitor your blood sugar as advised by your healthcare provider. Natural does not mean automatically safe for every person. The best way to start is not dramatic. Do not begin with a large spoon. Begin with half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon, preferably earlier in the evening. Try it for a few nights. Notice your body. How is your digestion? How is your sleep? Do you feel more satisfied? Do you wake up with reflux? Are you eating fewer snacks? Your body is the judge. A habit is only good if it works for you. You may also use olive oil in a more food-based way. For example, drizzle it on steamed vegetables at dinner. Add it to lentils. Add it to a salad. Put it on grilled fish or chicken after cooking. Mix it with lemon and herbs. Use it instead of butter. These methods may be better than drinking it alone because they connect olive oil with a real meal. And for many people, health improves more when meals improve, not when isolated tricks are added. There is something beautiful about olive oil because it is ancient, simple, and ordinary. It does not look like a modern supplement. It does not come with a dramatic label. It has been part of traditional eating patterns for generations. But the modern world has made people forget simple things. We chase complicated powders, extreme cleanses, and expensive routines while ignoring the quiet habits that can shape our health every day. Olive oil before bed, when used carefully, can become one of those quiet habits. It can remind you to stop eating junk at night. It can make your evening feel more intentional. It can support a better fat profile in your diet. It can help you create a calmer transition into sleep. And for some people, it may support digestion and satisfaction. But the greatest effect may be this: it makes you pay attention. And attention changes everything. When you pay attention to what you eat at night, you begin to notice patterns. You notice that sugar before bed makes you wake up hungry. You notice that heavy fried food makes your sleep restless. You notice that eating too late makes your stomach uncomfortable. You notice that a lighter dinner helps your morning. You notice that your body has been speaking to you for years, but you were too busy to listen. Olive oil is not the hero. Your awareness is the hero. So tonight, do not ask only, should I drink olive oil before bed? Ask a better question. What message am I sending my body before sleep? Am I sending a message of overload, sugar, and stress? Or am I sending a message of calm, nourishment, and balance? If you decide to try olive oil, choose extra virgin. Use a small amount. Do not take it right before lying down if you have reflux. Do not use it to cover a poor diet. Let it replace something worse. Let it become part of a calmer evening routine. And above all, listen to your body. Because the night is not empty. The night is when your body quietly prepares your tomorrow. The choices you make before bed do not disappear. They follow you into sleep. They shape your digestion, your comfort, your cravings, your morning energy, and your long-term habits. Maybe the effect nobody talks about is not a miracle that happens in one night. Maybe it is something deeper. Maybe it is the way one small spoon, used wisely, helps you stop treating the night like a place for cravings and start treating it like a place for recovery. And when you understand that, olive oil before bed becomes more than a trend. It becomes a reminder. A reminder that health is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is simple. Sometimes it is one small decision repeated at the end of the day. Tonight, when the kitchen becomes quiet and the world slows down, remember this. Your body is still listening. Give it something better to work with. Give it calm. Give it balance. Give it a routine that respects the work it does while you sleep. And tomorrow morning, pay attention. Your body may tell you more than you expect. What if one of the most powerful changes you could make after the age of 60 was already sitting in your kitchen, but almost everyone was using it the wrong way? Some people swallow olive oil on an empty stomach because they believe it cleans the arteries. Others pour it over every meal, assuming that more must be better. And many people avoid cooking with it because they have heard that heat instantly destroys its benefits. The truth is more surprising. Olive oil is not a miracle medicine, it does not dissolve plaque overnight, and it cannot replace your blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes treatment. But when you choose the right kind, use a sensible amount, and replace the right foods with it, olive oil may become one of the most useful ingredients in a healthy eating pattern after 60. Here is the secret most headlines miss. The greatest benefit does not come from adding olive oil on top of an already heavy diet. It comes from substitution. In other words, olive oil works best when it takes the place of butter, shortening, fatty sauces, excessive cream, and other sources of saturated fat. The United States Food and Drug Administration has stated that oils containing oleic acid, including olive oil, may help reduce coronary heart disease risk when they replace fats higher in saturated fat without increasing total calorie intake. The American Heart Association gives similar advice, emphasizing the replacement of saturated fats with unsaturated fats such as olive oil. That single word, replace, changes everything. If you add 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a meal that already contains butter, cheese, processed meat, and a creamy dressing, you may simply add more energy without improving the overall balance. But if you use olive oil instead of butter on vegetables, instead of mayonnaise in a homemade dressing, or instead of a heavy sauce with fish and beans, the nutritional picture becomes very different. This is not a dramatic detox. It is a quiet daily exchange that can influence your health over months and years. After 60, this becomes especially important because many people need fewer calories than they did decades earlier while still requiring nutrient-rich foods. That means every ingredient has to work harder nutritionally. Olive oil can be useful, but it is energy-dense. A healthy food can still become unhelpful when portions grow without limits. The National Institute on Aging explains that older adults often need fewer calories but more nutrients, and that appropriate quantities depend on activity level, body size, and overall health. So what makes extra virgin olive oil special? Most of its fat is monounsaturated, especially oleic acid. Extra virgin olive oil also contains natural plant compounds called polyphenols. These compounds contribute to its slightly bitter, peppery taste and help protect the oil from oxidation. That sensation at the back of your throat is not necessarily a sign that the oil is too strong or spoiled. In a fresh, high-quality oil, bitterness and a gentle peppery bite can be signs of naturally occurring compounds that refined oils contain in smaller amounts. Researchers have studied olive oil both as an individual food and as part of the Mediterranean diet. One of the best-known randomized trials involved people at high cardiovascular risk. Participants following a Mediterranean dietary pattern supplemented with extra virgin olive oil or nuts experienced fewer major cardiovascular events than those assigned to a reduced fat-controlled diet. This does not prove that olive oil alone caused every benefit, because the entire eating pattern included vegetables, legumes, fruits, whole grains, fish, and other foods. But it strongly supports the idea that extra virgin olive oil can play an important role inside a well-designed diet. Large observational studies have also found that people who consume more olive oil tend to have lower rates of cardiovascular disease and premature death. A 2022 meta-analysis of prospective studies reported lower cardiovascular and all-cause mortality risks among people with higher olive oil consumption. Another major analysis found that higher intake was associated with lower mortality from cardiovascular, respiratory, and neurodegenerative causes. These findings are encouraging, but they should be interpreted correctly. Observational studies show associations, not guarantees. People who regularly use olive oil may also eat more vegetables, exercise more, smoke less, or have better access to health care. Olive oil is part of the picture, not a magic shield. The same caution applies to the brain. You may have seen claims that one spoonful of olive oil prevents dementia. Science has not established that promise, and the National Institute on Aging states that no specific food has been proven to prevent Alzheimer's disease or age-related cognitive decline. However, research has found an association between higher olive oil consumption and a lower risk of dementia-related death. Mediterranean and mind-style eating patterns, which include olive oil alongside vegetables, berries, legumes, whole grains, fish, and nuts, are also being studied for their relationship with cognitive aging. The reasonable conclusion is not that olive oil cures memory loss. It is that replacing less favorable fats with olive oil may support a broader dietary pattern that is beneficial for both the heart and the brain. This heart and brain connection is important after 60 because the brain depends on a steady supply of blood and oxygen. Managing blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, sleep, physical activity, and social connection remains essential. Olive oil cannot compensate for smoking, severe inactivity, uncontrolled diabetes, or skipping prescribed medication. It can, however, make vegetables, beans, and fish more enjoyable, and that may help you follow a healthier eating pattern consistently. The best diet is not the one you tolerate for 4 days. It is the one you can enjoy for years. Olive oil may also help with blood sugar management indirectly, especially when it replaces refined sauces or saturated fats and is eaten with fiber-rich foods. A meal containing vegetables, lentils, chickpeas, whole grains, or beans, combined with a moderate amount of olive oil and a source of protein, is very different from a meal built around white bread, sugary drinks, processed meat, and fried snacks. Research reviews have found associations between olive oil consumption and lower risks of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes, but olive oil should never be presented as a replacement for glucose monitoring, medication, or individualized medical advice. There is another benefit that rarely receives attention. Dietary fat helps the body absorb certain fat-soluble nutrients. For example, vitamin D is absorbed more effectively when consumed with a meal or snack containing some fat. This is one reason a salad made only of dry lettuce is not automatically healthier than a colorful salad with a measured olive oil dressing. Tomatoes, carrots, leafy greens, peppers, and other vegetables can be combined with a modest amount of healthy fat as part of a balanced meal. The answer is not to flood the plate with oil. The answer is to use enough to improve flavor, satisfaction, and nutrient absorption while keeping portions under control. Now, let us address one of the biggest myths. Do you need to drink olive oil first thing in the morning on an empty stomach? No, there is no special rule requiring you to take it like a shot. Some people enjoy a teaspoon with food, and others prefer it at lunch or dinner. The benefits are linked to the overall dietary pattern and what the oil replaces, not to a magical time on the clock. Drinking a large amount quickly may also cause stomach discomfort or loose stools in sensitive people. Starting slowly and using olive oil as part of meals is generally more comfortable than swallowing a large quantity alone. Another common claim is that olive oil cleans the intestines or cures constipation. Olive oil can make food more palatable and may have a mild loosening effect for some people, but persistent constipation after 60 deserves attention. It may be related to insufficient fiber, inadequate fluid intake, inactivity, medication side effects, or an underlying medical condition. New constipation accompanied by blood in the stool, unexplained weight loss, vomiting, persistent abdominal pain, fever, or an inability to pass gas should not be treated with kitchen remedies alone. These warning signs require medical evaluation. What about cooking? Extra virgin olive oil can be used for many normal home cooking methods, including gentle sautéing, baking, roasting, and finishing dishes. Heat does gradually reduce some delicate compounds, especially when temperatures are very high or the oil is heated repeatedly for long periods. But this does not mean olive oil becomes poisonous the moment it touches a warm pan. Research examining olive oils under heat shows that quality changes depend on temperature, duration, and the characteristics of the oil. A practical rule is simple. Cook at moderate temperatures, avoid letting the oil smoke heavily, and do not repeatedly reuse oil for deep frying. Save your freshest, most flavorful extra virgin olive oil for salads, soups, vegetables, and finishing dishes when you want to preserve more of its taste and natural plant compounds. Choosing the right bottle is just as important as using it correctly. Look for the words extra virgin olive oil rather than vague descriptions or unidentified oil blends. Choose a bottle that protects the oil from light, such as dark glass, a metal container, or opaque packaging. Check the best before date and, when available, the harvest date. Buy a size you can finish while it is still fresh. A giant bottle is not a bargain if it spends a year beside a hot stove. At home, close the cap tightly and store the bottle in a cool, dark cabinet away from the oven and direct sunlight. Oxygen, heat, and light gradually damage flavor and quality. International Olive Council guidance recommends protecting olive oil from light, heat, and unnecessary exposure to air. It also advises purchasing quantities that can be used within a reasonable period after opening. Do not judge olive oil only by color. A green oil is not automatically better than a golden one. Aroma and taste matter more. Fresh extra virgin olive oil may smell fruity, grassy, herbal, or similar to fresh tomatoes or almonds, depending on the olives. If it develops an unpleasant odor resembling stale nuts, old frying oil, crayons, or putty, it may have oxidized and become rancid. How much should you use? There is no universal dose for every person over 60. Your needs depend on body size, activity, medical conditions, total diet, and weight goals. A practical starting point for many people is 1 teaspoon added to a meal, followed by adjustments based on the rest of the day. Some Mediterranean dietary patterns use more, but the oil replaces other fats rather than being added without limit. Measure it at least occasionally. Pouring directly from a bottle can turn 1 tablespoon into 3 before you notice. The National Institute on Aging notes that recommended oil quantities for older adults vary according to calorie requirements and activity levels. Oils remain an important source of unsaturated fat and vitamin E, but they still contribute substantially to daily energy intake. This is why the amount should fit within the complete meal plan. Here is a simple way to use olive oil intelligently throughout the day. At breakfast, you could add a small drizzle to tomatoes, whole grain toast, eggs, or cooked vegetables instead of spreading a thick layer of butter. At lunch, combine olive oil with lemon juice, vinegar, herbs, garlic, or mustard to create a flavorful dressing without relying on excessive sugar or salt. At dinner, use it to cook onions and vegetables gently or drizzle a measured amount over beans, lentils, fish, or soup. These changes do more than add olive oil. They help move the entire meal toward vegetables, legumes, whole grains, fish, and minimally processed foods. A spoonful of olive oil poured over a plate of processed meat and refined carbohydrates will not transform that plate into a Mediterranean meal. The surrounding foods still matter. And this leads to the most important point in the entire video. Olive oil is powerful partly because it helps nutritious foods become satisfying. A plate of beans with herbs and olive oil can be comforting. Roasted vegetables can become flavorful. Fish can taste rich without being covered in a heavy cream sauce. When healthy food tastes good, you are more likely to eat it repeatedly. Consistency is where the real benefit lives. But there are situations where caution is necessary. If your doctor has placed you on a specific calorie-controlled diet, if you have a digestive condition that makes fatty foods difficult to tolerate, or if large amounts of oil trigger pain, nausea, reflux, or diarrhea, discuss your intake with a qualified health professional. What is suitable for one person may not be suitable for another. If you take medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes, continue it exactly as prescribed unless your clinician changes it. Improving your diet may influence your measurements over time, which is a reason to monitor them carefully, not a reason to stop treatment on your own. Olive oil is food. It is not insulin, a blood pressure tablet, or a cholesterol-lowering medication. You should also be skeptical of olive oil mixtures promoted as cures. Combining olive oil with lemon, garlic, cayenne pepper, or herbs may create a tasty dressing, but it does not detoxify the liver, remove gallstones safely, dissolve arterial plaque, or cure cancer. Your liver and kidneys already perform the body's main filtering functions. A recipe can support a nutritious diet, but it should never replace diagnosis, medical monitoring, or necessary treatment. Be especially careful with online videos that promise that a large glass of olive oil will flush toxins from the body overnight. These dramatic promises often ignore portion size, digestive tolerance, medication use, and the medical history of the person watching. A method that seems harmless to one viewer may be uncomfortable or inappropriate for another. So what is the olive oil secret after 60? It is not a secret bottle, a secret brand, or a secret morning ritual. It is the method. Choose extra virgin olive oil when possible. Protect it from heat and light. Use a measured amount. Combine it with vegetables, beans, whole grains, fish, and other minimally processed foods. Most importantly, let it replace butter, shortening, heavy sauces, and other less favorable fats instead of simply adding it on top of everything you already eat. Try this experiment for the next 30 days. Do not drink a cup of oil and do not expect overnight miracles. Simply identify one less healthy fat you use regularly and replace it with a sensible amount of extra virgin olive oil. At the same time, add one extra serving of vegetables or legumes to your day. You might replace butter on cooked vegetables. You could prepare a homemade olive oil and lemon dressing instead of buying a creamy sauce. You might use beans with herbs and olive oil as a side dish instead of fried potatoes. You could cook fish with tomatoes, onions, and a measured drizzle of oil instead of covering it with butter. Pay attention to your appetite, digestion, weight, blood pressure, and blood sugar if you already monitor them. The goal is not perfection. The goal is a repeatable improvement. One balanced meal will not transform your health, but a better meal repeated hundreds of times can become meaningful. After 60, health is rarely transformed by one dramatic trick. It is protected by hundreds of small decisions that seem ordinary in the moment. The oil you cook with, the food beside it, the portion you pour, the walk you take, the medication you remember, and the checkup you do not postpone all work together. Olive oil can be one valuable piece of that system. Used wisely, it may support cardiovascular health, contribute to a brain-friendly eating pattern, and improve the quality and flavor of your meals. Used carelessly, it is simply extra energy. If this message surprised you, share this video with someone over 60 who still believes olive oil must be swallowed on an empty stomach to work. And tell us in the comments how you currently use olive oil. Do you cook with it, add it to salads, or take it by the spoon? Your answer may help another viewer make a healthier choice. Remember, the real secret is not more olive oil. It is better olive oil, better portions, better foods around it, and better replacements repeated day after day. What if one spoonful of olive oil before bed could change the way you feel in the morning, improve your digestion, protect your heart, and even help control your weight? That promise is everywhere online, but after 30 nights, the truth is far more interesting than the miracle claims. Some changes can be useful, some are surprisingly small, and one common mistake can completely cancel the potential benefits. Stay until the end, because what matters most is not simply drinking olive oil. It is the type you choose, the amount you consume, what it replaces in your diet, and how your body reacts. For 30 days, I followed one simple routine. Every evening, I measured 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil and consumed it shortly after dinner. I did not take it seconds before lying down because I wanted to reduce the risk of digestive discomfort. I also tried not to change the rest of my lifestyle dramatically. The purpose was to observe possible changes in digestion, appetite, sleep, body weight, energy, and general well-being. Before sharing what happened, I need to make something clear. This was a personal 30-day experiment, not a controlled medical study. What one person notices cannot predict what everyone else will experience. Olive oil can be part of a healthy diet, but it is not a treatment for disease, and taking it at night does not give it magical powers. The first surprise appeared on the very first night. Drinking olive oil directly is completely different from pouring it over a salad or using it in a meal. The texture is thick, the taste is intense, and a good extra virgin olive oil can produce a peppery sensation at the back of the throat. At first, I wondered whether that mild, burning feeling meant something was wrong with the oil. In reality, bitterness and pungency are common characteristics of fresh, extra virgin olive oil. They are partly connected to naturally occurring plant compounds called polyphenols. European regulations recognize that olive oil containing a sufficient amount of hydroxytyrosol and related compounds can contribute to protecting blood lipids from oxidative stress. However, not every bottle contains the same concentration, and the amount can decrease as the oil is exposed to heat, light, air, and time. Although the taste became easier to tolerate, I also noticed something important. Olive oil is pure fat, and consuming fat late in the evening does not feel comfortable for everyone. Some people may experience heaviness, nausea, bloating, or acid reflux. High-fat foods are among the foods commonly associated with worsening gastroesophageal reflux symptoms, especially when they are eaten close to bedtime. During the first few nights, I paid close attention to any burning sensation in my chest, coughing, sour taste, or discomfort while lying down. Fortunately, I did not experience serious symptoms, but the oil felt much more comfortable when I took it with dinner rather than immediately before going to sleep. This was the first major lesson. The fact that something is healthy does not mean every person should consume it in the same way. Someone with frequent heartburn might feel better using olive oil at lunchtime or as part of an evening meal instead of drinking it before bed. At the end of the first week, there had been no overnight miracle. My abdominal fat had not suddenly disappeared. I did not wake up with unlimited energy. My joints had not completely stopped aching, and there was no dramatic transformation in the mirror. This is where many online claims become misleading. Olive oil is food, not a fast-acting medication. Its strongest health evidence comes from its role within an overall healthy eating pattern, particularly when it replaces less favorable sources of fat. The word replaces is extremely important. The United States Food and Drug Administration has concluded that supportive but not conclusive evidence suggests that oils high in oleic acid may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease when they replace fats and oils higher in saturated fat and do not increase total daily calories. The American Heart Association also recommends replacing saturated and trans fats with unsaturated fats found in foods such as olive oil. This means that adding a tablespoon of olive oil while continuing to consume the same amount of butter, fatty meat, creamy sauces, pastries, and fried food is not the same as replacing some of those foods with olive oil. That distinction became one of the most important discoveries during these 30 days. At first, I was simply adding the oil after dinner, but olive oil contains a significant number of calories. 1 teaspoon provides approximately 40 calories, meaning that a tablespoon contains roughly 120 calories. Over 30 days, one additional tablespoon every night can add approximately 3,600 calories. The body does not ignore those calories because they come from a respected Mediterranean ingredient. If those calories are added to everything else a person already eats, weight loss may become more difficult, and weight gain may become possible. I therefore stopped treating the olive oil like a free supplement. I began treating it as part of my evening meal. On some days, it replaced butter. On other days, it replaced a creamy dressing or an unhealthy late-night snack. This small adjustment completely changed the meaning of the experiment. By the end of the first week, one of the clearest benefits was increased awareness of portions. Measuring the oil showed me how easy it is to use much more than expected. What looks like a small drizzle can quickly become 2 or 3 tablespoons. Healthy ingredients still need reasonable portions. Olive oil may be a healthier choice than butter or shortening, but drinking unlimited amounts will not automatically improve health. I also watched closely for changes in digestion. Some people claim that a spoonful of olive oil instantly cures constipation. My experience was less dramatic. My digestion felt slightly more regular on certain mornings, but there was no sudden cleansing effect. A small amount of dietary fat may help some people whose previous diet was extremely low in fat, but olive oil is not a guaranteed treatment for chronic constipation. Regular bowel function also depends on hydration, fiber, movement, medications, medical conditions, and the total diet. Anyone experiencing severe constipation, bleeding, unexplained weight loss, vomiting, intense abdominal pain, or a persistent change in bowel habits should seek professional medical advice rather than repeatedly increasing the amount of oil. During the second week, the nightly routine became easier. I became accustomed to the taste, but I still did not enjoy swallowing the oil like a shot. Taking it with vegetables, soup, beans, or a small piece of whole grain bread felt much more natural. This raised an important question. Is drinking olive oil directly actually better than eating it with food? There is no convincing evidence that the body requires olive oil to be swallowed alone. Using it on vegetables, legumes, whole grains, or fish can be more pleasant and may help replace butter, processed dressings, or heavy sauces. More importantly, it connects olive oil to the Mediterranean dietary pattern that has produced the strongest cardiovascular evidence. One of the best-known studies in this area is the pre-dimed trial. It studied people at high cardiovascular risk and found that participants following a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil experienced fewer major cardiovascular events than participants assigned to a control diet. However, this was a long-term dietary intervention. It was not a 30-day bedtime challenge, and its results cannot be attributed to taking 1 spoonful at a particular hour. The participants were following a broader pattern that included foods such as vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, fish, and minimally processed ingredients. Olive oil was important, but it was not acting alone. By the middle of the month, I still had no reason to believe that nighttime consumption was better than using olive oil at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The body does not suddenly recognize olive oil as medicine because the clock says 10 in the evening. The main advantage of the evening routine appeared to be consistency. Because I repeated the habit at the same time, it became easy to remember. But the timing was far less important than what the oil replaced. For example, when it replaced a sugary dessert or a large portion of cheese, the routine improved my evening eating pattern. When it was simply added after a complete meal, it only increased the total calorie intake. This also changed the way I thought about weight loss.
Olive oil is sometimes described as a food that burns abdominal fat, but no oil can melt body fat on its own. Losing body fat requires a sustained difference between the amount of energy consumed and the amount the body uses. Olive oil can still fit into a weight management plan. Its strong flavor can make vegetables, lentils, beans, and other nutritious foods more enjoyable. A satisfying meal may reduce the desire to snack later, but pouring more oil over the same food does not automatically create a calorie deficit. During my experiment, my body weight remained relatively stable. I did not experience the dramatic weight loss promised in some videos. This was not disappointing because it revealed a more useful truth. Olive oil can support a healthier eating pattern, but it is not a shortcut around portion control. During the third week, I started paying more attention to the quality of the oil. Extra virgin olive oil is produced using mechanical or physical processes rather than the refining methods used for lower grades of oil, and it retains the characteristic flavors of the olives.
That does not mean every expensive bottle is automatically excellent. Freshness, storage, packaging, and authenticity all matter. Olive oil is sensitive to oxygen, excessive heat, and light. The International Olive Council recommends protecting it from these conditions to help preserve its quality. Keeping the bottle tightly closed in a cool, dark cupboard is much better than leaving it beside a hot stove or in direct sunlight. I began checking the aroma and taste before taking the oil. Fresh extra virgin olive oil may taste fruity, grassy, bitter, or peppery. An oil that has oxidized can develop a stale or unpleasant smell and lose much of its freshness. This taught me that drinking poor quality oil every evening does not become a healthy ritual simply because the bottle says olive oil. Buying an amount that can be consumed within a reasonable period may be more sensible than purchasing a huge container that remains open for many months. At this point, I wondered whether my heart had already become healthier. The honest answer is that cardiovascular changes usually cannot be judged by how a person feels in the morning. You cannot reliably feel a small change in cholesterol, blood pressure, endothelial function, or oxidative stress. Those outcomes require proper measurements, and 30 days may be too short to reveal a meaningful difference. Research on olive oil is encouraging overall, particularly when it is included in a Mediterranean-style diet. However, reviews do not always find identical improvements in every cardiovascular marker. Some analyses report benefits for certain outcomes, while others find limited or inconsistent changes in blood pressure, cholesterol, or glucose measurements. That uncertainty does not mean olive oil is unhealthy. It means that the evidence should be explained honestly. The results depend on the population, the amount consumed, the type of oil, the duration of the study, the rest of the diet, and what the oil replaced. Olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fat, particularly oleic acid. Replacing foods high in saturated fat with sources of unsaturated fat can improve the overall quality of dietary fat and support cardiovascular health. But olive oil does not physically wash cholesterol out of the arteries. The arteries are not pipes that can be cleaned by pouring oil through the digestive system. Any cardiovascular benefit develops through long-term effects on the total dietary pattern and various risk factors. Another promise I wanted to test was better sleep. Many people claim that drinking olive oil at night produces deeper, uninterrupted sleep. After 3 weeks, I could not say that the oil itself had transformed my sleep. Some nights were good, and others were normal. The routine may have helped indirectly when it replaced late-night snacking or encouraged me to eat a lighter dinner. But there was no immediate sedative effect. For someone who develops reflux, nausea, or stomach fullness, taking oil before bed could actually make sleep worse. Therefore, olive oil should not be presented as a proven treatment for insomnia. I also noticed exaggerated claims about blood sugar. Olive oil contains almost no carbohydrate, so it does not affect blood glucose in the same way as sweets or refined starches. But drinking a spoonful after eating a large dessert does not cancel the sugar in that dessert. People managing diabetes need to consider their entire meal pattern, physical activity, sleep, medication plan, and glucose monitoring. Olive oil can be included in an appropriate diet, but it should never replace prescribed treatment. By the fourth week, the most meaningful benefit was not a spectacular physical change. It was the way olive oil had changed the meals around it. I used it instead of butter on several occasions. I replaced processed salad dressing with olive oil and vinegar. I ate more vegetables because they tasted better with a small amount of oil. I also reduced some late night snacking because the evening meal felt more complete. This is how one ingredient can make a real difference without behaving like a miracle cure. It can encourage better choices around it. There were also many things that did not happen. I did not lose a large amount of weight. My joint discomfort did not disappear overnight. My vision did not suddenly improve. My memory did not transform, and I did not feel my liver being detoxified. The body already has organs responsible for processing and eliminating substances. Olive oil can be part of a nutritious diet, but claims that it rapidly flushes toxins from the liver or melts fat while a person sleeps go far beyond what a 30-day experiment can demonstrate. The realistic result was more modest. Digestion may feel different for some people, but responses vary. Appetite may feel easier to manage when olive oil is included in a balanced meal, but drinking it alone does not guarantee fullness. Weight may decrease, remain stable, or increase depending on whether the oil replaces other calories or adds new ones. Cardiovascular benefits are more plausible when olive oil is consumed consistently as part of a long-term Mediterranean-style diet, but they are not something most people can confirm after 1 month without medical testing. The nighttime timing itself appears much less important than the overall diet. Some people should also be particularly careful. Those with frequent acid reflux may discover that consuming oil late in the evening worsens their symptoms. People with gastroparesis are often advised to limit high-fat foods because fat can slow stomach emptying and may increase nausea, fullness, or discomfort. People with pancreatitis may also receive specific recommendations to follow a lower fat eating plan. Anyone with a diagnosed digestive disorder, recurrent vomiting, unexplained abdominal pain, or a medically prescribed diet should speak with a qualified healthcare professional before turning olive oil into a daily treatment. So, what is the safest and most practical way to try this habit? Begin with a small amount rather than immediately swallowing a full tablespoon. 1 teaspoon may be enough to evaluate your tolerance. Use it with dinner instead of consuming it just before lying down. Pay attention to reflux, nausea, diarrhea, bloating, or abdominal discomfort. Do not force yourself to drink it like medicine. Drizzle it over cooked vegetables, use it with lentils or beans, mix it into a simple salad dressing, or use it to replace a fat that is higher in saturated fat. The goal is not to consume as much olive oil as possible. The goal is to improve the quality of the fats already present in your diet. Choose extra virgin olive oil from a reliable source. Look for packaging that protects it from light, keep the bottle tightly closed, and store it away from heat. A dark glass bottle or metal container can offer better protection than a clear bottle exposed to kitchen light. Most importantly, remember that olive oil is food, not a miracle drug. It cannot compensate for smoking, physical inactivity, poor sleep, excessive alcohol consumption, uncontrolled blood pressure, or a diet dominated by heavily processed foods. After 30 nights, the final result was not a shocking transformation. It was a much clearer understanding of why olive oil deserves its healthy reputation and why it is so often used incorrectly online. The benefit did not come from swallowing a golden liquid at a secret hour. It came from replacing less favorable fats, controlling portions, improving meals, and building a consistent routine. Before trying this challenge, ask yourself one important question. What will the olive oil replace? If it replaces butter, a heavy sauce, a processed dressing, or an unhealthy late-night snack, it may improve your diet. If it replaces nothing and is simply added on top of everything you already eat, the result could be extra calories, digestive discomfort, or disappointment. That is what really happened after 30 days. There was no magic, no overnight cure, and no reason to fear olive oil either. Used wisely, extra virgin olive oil can be a valuable part of a balanced diet. Used carelessly, it is simply another concentrated source of calories. The secret is not hidden inside the bottle. The difference comes from how you use it, how much you consume, and what the rest of your lifestyle looks like. This video is provided for general educational purposes and does not replace personalized medical advice. If you take medication, have diabetes, experience digestive problems, or have been instructed to follow a specific diet, speak with your doctor or a registered dietitian before making significant dietary changes. Now tell us in the comments, do you already use olive oil every day, and have you ever taken it in the evening? Also, let us know which country you are watching from.